Hello and welcome to the Know It Some podcast, the podcast where we interview folks from different backgrounds, professions, life journeys to hear a different perspective and see if we could learn something. After all, while nobody likes a know-it-all, it's always good to know it some. Today's guest is Sam, or just Sam, or Sam. See, it depends a little. She is a Twitch partner. She's also a partner with Nintendo America and Discord. And just a content creator and streamer, video gamer. Those of you who are big into the video game community probably already know who she is. Her followers are called her Samly, and she has done a lot of work to cultivate something that's just very positive and wholesome within the streaming world, within the video game world. Those of you who love video games would absolutely love to follow her on Twitch. There you could find her as Sam, Seum. She's also co-hosting a new show on Amazon Prime that first released this Wednesday. So if you're listening to this Wednesday, April 7th, 2021, it's called Game on Titans, and it's about mobile gaming. So she'll be co-hosting that. And without further ado, oh wait, one more announcement. So somebody reached out to me and said, you should probably make your own page for the podcast. So I did that on Twitter. So at Know It Some Pod, that's KNOW, It's Some Pod. You can find our episodes. You could find all sorts of feedback, and you can also submit feedback there and request for different guests. Any sort of ideas you might have for segments on the podcast. I'm very open to constructive criticism, and of course, just feel free to reach out there. We'll be making an Instagram page soon. If any graphic design artists want to reach out to me, I'd be more than happy to work with you. But we're definitely growing this thing. I have recorded now 6 episodes this week are scheduled to be recorded. So we have a new episode coming out every Tuesday morning, starting with this episode. That's right. Every week, you're going to have a new guest, a new interview, and I'm really excited about it. Without further ado, please welcome Sam. This is episode 4, Sam. So Sam, you are, well, where do I start? You're a video gamer, but you're also a streamer. It's not just video games, right?
Yeah. So streaming has a bunch of different things that it entails. It just depends on what type of content creator you are.
Got you. Yeah, this is all gonna sound like you're talking to like your 85-year-old grandfather and
Okay.
and explaining everything. There's gonna be a number of people listening to this that are on Twitch, they're on Discord, they know who you are. They're probably even part of the Samly. But there'll be a number of people who are into video games, but maybe not familiar with your Twitch channel. And then there's going to be, a number of people who have no idea what Twitch is. And so this will be kind of interesting to see how many people get pulled in that direction from this. But what, going back before Twitch, what brought you into video games in general? Because like for me, my family had an NES when I was a kid. The original Nintendo, we loved it. I was playing Duck Hunt and all that kind of thing. And that was my first introduction into video games. And then as time went on, we got the newer consoles as they came out. What was your first introduction into video games?
Mine was kind of similar. I have a brother who's 9 years my senior, so they went through Atari and NES. My first console personally was the Super Nintendo, and my first game was Mario Paint.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. So it was in the Mario family.
Yeah, way back when.
So and then now you are partnered with Nintendo, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a Nintendo ambassador.
That's awesome. How things come full circle.
It's pretty cool. I'm still shocked by it. It tickles me.
So brother, 9 years your senior.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me. And so you've played everything going back to Atari. Is there, with all these throwback consoles, N64, Sega Dreamcast, is there a throwback console that's your favorite, or do you have a couple favorites, or are they all kind of equal in your book?
I think that the 64 and the GameCube are my personal favorites just because of the game era with them was
Mm-hmm.
really cool. I still find myself going back to 64 games because I have one. And so like I've just been finishing up Donkey Kong 64 for the millionth time.
uh,
They're just so good.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that Donkey Kong 64 was my favorite 64 game, and there are so many to choose from that it's hard to say that because I
Yeah.
was playing everything from GoldenEye to Smash Brothers,
Yeah.
but I definitely spent hours upon hours upon hours in the gameplay for DK64,
The
and
music, phenomenal.
mm-hmm.
It's so good. It's such a bop.
So I want to go to your Twitch username. Could you
Okay.
explain that? It's Sam, right?
Mhm.
Just not spelled the same way as your
Yeah.
name.
So it's a play on my name, but it's originally from my high school.
Okay.
So all of my friends were in marching band. I was not. I was in choir. But all of my friends were in marching band, and so, they have their 8 counts that they have to do, and they would
hmm
joke around, and whenever they got to the number 7, they would say, "Sam." And, so since I was everyone's friend Sam.
So it's 5, 6, Seum, 8.
Yeah. So I just started being called Seum. Uh,
Nice.
and it kind of went that way for me because I tried to have the username just Sam, SAM, or like
Right.
JUSTSAM, but
hmm
I guess somebody else was clever enough as well and decided that was theirs too. I was
Oh
like, well,
boy.
dang, I'm not going to be able to get this on many platforms.
Right.
And this is before like platforms were really a thing, but I mean like
hmm
PlayStation and on Xbox. So I decided to go with just Sam.
I
um,
like it. I'm
yeah.
sure. So I like that it's unique. I'm sure some people mispronounce it at times.
Oh my gosh, all the
But then,
time.
but once they come to know, what you're about and what your name is and all that, then I'm sure it all clicks.
Yeah, I just tell
Um,
them to call me Sam because people try
there
to
you go.
say so many things like "soom" and "some."
Oh,
It's just think of the word museum. It's like museum.
there you go. Yeah, you just
Yeah,
gotta break it up phonetically. Say
yeah,
Sam.
Sam. Just
Got you.
Sam.
So okay, so when I was in college, right? This
Mm.
was past the times where we would try to like connect our N64s together and stuff. This was a time where YouTube was just blowing up, and a lot of people were posting like walkthrough videos.
Yeah,
Um and so that was like the thing at that time, but that wasn't very interactive. It was very much just they'd post it and you'd watch it later, but there was no real interaction between whoever was playing the video game and the people watching, right?
yeah.
And then Twitch kind of turns that on its edge. How did you find Twitch? Could you talk a little bit about how you started on that platform?
Yeah, so my husband, he was watching somebody play Destiny and soloing the Crota raid. And so
Hmm.
I leaned over his shoulder and I was like, "What are you watching?" He's like, "Oh, I'm watching somebody do this." I was like, "Is that just a video?" And he's like, "No, it's live." So I went to the platform and I was like, "Okay, well, let's see what kind of games they have." And so I would just start searching such obscure games just to see. It's like I would look at MapleStory, I'd look at Diablo 2, and then I was like, "Okay, what about The Sims?" And so I found The Sims, and then there was a specific creator that kind of drew me into their Sims gameplay because of how they did their streams. It was just very entertaining.
hmm
And as I was watching for a couple months, I was like, you know what? I could do this. I love entertainment. I love video games, and so that's kind of how I found live entertainment in this industry.
Got you. And then because it's interactive, it seems as though, and I like how you use the term creator, right, as
Mm.
opposed to gamer, because you are creating content. And from what I've seen on your stream, it's just very creative.
Oh,
The
thanks.
family, there's all these emotes and different things involved. How did you come up with like kind of the vibe that you have going on, which I notice is very wholesome. There seems to be like this anybody can watch, like of any age, right? Kids can watch it. It's a family oriented thing, and I love the name Samly that you chose for that.
Yeah, so I wanted to make content that I felt comfortable my son watching.
hmm
Um, So I went the family-friendly route, but that wasn't too difficult for me because I feel like I've always been a pretty family-friendly person.
Yeah.
So it's just more or less myself just elevated to be entertaining for other families. And I have like moms and dads who hang around with their children and they come in the mornings, especially if they've got younger kids and they're like, oh my gosh, so and so's watching you right now. And I'm like, oh, I love that. It brings me a lot
Hmm.
of joy. So, and then the family, like the name came about. One of my moderators, we were trying to think of a community name because I feel like whenever you put a name on your community, it makes people feel just more a part of something.
Right.
And he was like, we're like family. And
It's
you're
true.
Sam. He was like, what about Samily? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. So
It really
we
is.
went with that, and it's stuck ever
Well,
since.
like you said, it wasn't too much of a stretch for you. I've known you now for 9 going on 10 years,
Yeah.
right? And if anybody from the family like got lost and wandered themselves onto this podcast, I can tell them you are very much in real life and have been in real life the person that you are on your stream. And that's not
Thanks.
always the case, I think, with folks. Some people put on a show or a front and then you meet them and you're like, oh, that's a bummer because I thought they'd be so cool. And
Yeah.
with you, I've known you since before you got on Twitch,
Oh yeah, well
and
before.
this has always been who you are.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's
I want to, I don't know, treat others how I want to be treated. I just want to be nice. And I'll
that's
treat people
awesome.
nice back.
That's really awesome. So, um, explain Dak Dak because I know him by a different name, but how did Dak Dak come by his name?
Honestly, it's actually from the Marine Corps.
Is it really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So whenever I think he said, I'm probably gonna butcher this, and he's gonna be like, Sam, you're so wrong. Shut up. So
uh,
he was at Paris Island and
hmm.
he was doing a Scantron test, and
Okay,
the answers were DAAC, DAAC.
you're kidding.
Yeah, so he got it from Marine Corps Scantron test.
Oh my.
And so it just kind of stuck. He was like, I don't know, because whenever we started dating, he wasn't an Xbox person, he was PlayStation.
Hmm. Okay.
And so he was trying to think of an Xbox username. And he was
Mm,
like, all right, why not Dak Dak?
that's
He
awesome.
like thought of that random Scarecron that's stuck in his head. And so
Yeah.
ever since he's been Dak. It's easier because I know too many Erics. So it's nice to call him Dak.
Hmm. Absolutely. So you mentioned he was more PlayStation than Xbox,
Mhm.
and you've kind of converted him a little bit. Um, what are your main consoles now? Is it just computer games? Are you playing on PS5 yet? Like what exactly is going on in your world right now in terms of equipment and consoles and that kind of thing?
Oh my gosh, getting a hold of the PS5 is a nightmare. So definitely not that. But
uh,
so I originally started streaming on an Xbox.
hmm.
And then even after I switched to like streaming on the PC, I was still only really playing on Xbox. And then I dabbled a little bit in PlayStation on stream, but now I'm pretty strictly PC as well as Switch
Yeah.
because Microsoft has the Game Pass.
Hmm.
And where you can play most of the Xbox games on your computer. And so it's just
It's
easier for
awesome.
me than having to switch stuff up because then I can just plug my controller in as well if I do want to use that compatibility.
Hmm.
And then, of course, Nintendo games are on their own console. So I got
Yeah.
that, but that's
The Switch is pretty
okay.
darn cool.
It's so cool. So convenient.
So okay, with this interactive thing, right? It's so different from what I was telling you before, the walkthrough videos on YouTube.
Mhm.
You're interacting with, and you do a great job compared to a lot of other content creators at interacting with your family, right? Um, how do you balance that though? Because when I'm playing a video game, and maybe it's because I'm old, but when I'm playing a video game, I have to be focused. Like I have to really be focused on what I'm doing. And it's like, hey, don't bother me. And they're, if people are asking me questions, it throws me off. How
Mhm.
are you able to balance that? Is that difficult for you?
Not really. There are moments where I get heavily focused, especially in games where I get creative. It's
Mm-hmm.
creative games or puzzle games where I need to like zone in. And we have a command, like a focus command. It's like, hey, Sam's doing this, but she will get back and read everything when she gets time.
Awesome.
So we try to work around that, but most of the time I try to choose games that I'm able to play and talk at the same time. So I tend to
Mm-hmm.
play, comfier, cozier games, so like Stardew and The Sims and Animal Crossing and things like that. But I also really love chaotic games like Phasmophobia and Devour and Among Us. So it just depends. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I am very on top of letting people know, hey, I'll get to you shortly. I'm just very focused. And then I do.
So is Animal Crossing like one of your main games right now?
It's been one of my main games for the past year. I think the pandemic definitely brought it into my life. It was my first Animal Crossing game,
Okay.
and I think with the negativity and the chaos of the world, it kind of grounded me, which was really nice.
Okay.
Yeah, and just brought me calmness.
Now you mentioned that Dak was watching Destiny when
Mhm.
you first like kind of learned about Twitch. Did that become a big game for you?
Yeah, so actually, Destiny, I got him into Destiny originally because I was a big Halo player,
Okay.
and
So was I way back when.
yeah, and I was really looking forward to Destiny because we kept hearing this is gonna be the next big thing from Halo, like, or
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like Halo. And so I pre-ordered and everything, and it kept getting pushed back. And then eventually the beta came out while we lived in Pendleton, and
Mm-hmm.
we started to enjoy it. And that was actually the first game that I streamed. And I was a part of the Destiny community. I went to the Destiny 2 premiere. And I don't stream it as much anymore just because unfortunately it doesn't draw me in with
Mm-hmm.
current content.
Right.
But it was something that we shared, one of the few games that we really shared our love for. So
Nice.
it was nice to start out with that.
Now, the streaming community,
Mhm.
like Twitch in general. I know you're on Discord and stuff. Have you been able to kind of meet a lot of other streamers? Have you been able to go to any sort of conventions? I mean, is there a community, or is it kind of like an isolated thing?
Oh no, it's a huge community. Even social media platforms, like you call it streamer Twitter, things like that. Like,
uh,
it's just because it's a place where we all kind of congregate. And I've been to so
hmm
many conventions. I tried to go to every convention up until the pandemic. I went to the last convention of the year, evidently. So I went to
So
PAX
you've probably
East.
probably met some really interesting people.
Yeah, I've made a lot of my best friends from this industry.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Are there streamers that perhaps my listeners might recognize that you've gotten to meet, or that you've been able to befriend at all? Any big names in the community that maybe you've been able to get in touch with?
I did an event with a Red Nose Day event with Nega Oryx and Valkyrie
Hmm.
and Pokimane. And that
Okay.
was really
Wow.
fun. Yeah, yeah. So we did that together. We played blindfolded Jenga. That was really fun.
How'd
And
you do?
then I beat Pokey. I think it was just luck. But that was cool. And then Dr. Lupo, who is big in the Fortnite, well, was big in the Fortnite community, but I actually knew him from Destiny community. And then he blew up with Ninja, and I've met Tyler and all of them. So it's a
Oh
small
wow.
world, like it really is. Um,
Yeah,
but
that's pretty cool.
yeah, I wouldn't say I'm
Now,
necessarily super close to any of them except for Ben, Dr. Lupo,
okay.
because his wife is my best friend. So, but yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
And so I mean, you guys obviously are busy with your own platforms, your own communities and stuff,
Mhm.
but every now and then you're able to kind of like reach out and bounce ideas off of each other, I'm
Yeah,
sure, like
stream.
some of these. That's awesome. Now when I talk to boomers, because I'm in the I'm in the in between, I guess.
Oh, get out of here.
When I talk to boomers, right, it blows their mind that you can make money off of playing video
Yeah.
games, right? Because if you think back in the 90s, there weren't a lot of people doing that.
Oh, not at all. There's
Right?
nothing. That wasn't a thing.
Right. And so now there's tons of ability to do that, right?
Mhm.
There's subscriptions, there's tips, there's all these different multiple revenue streams. And I noticed that you're a Twitch partner. Was that difficult to attain that?
Yeah, and it's actually changed throughout the years on how partnership is attainable. So
Mm-hmm.
currently, there's something on your dashboard that'll give you like a path to partner, and it'll show you like how many days in a row you need to stream, what current computer CCV,
Mm-hmm.
current what is it? I can't think of the name. I'm blanking right now.
It's okay.
Anyway, just your overall like
Your
viewership.
setup.
Um
Mm-hmm.
and I think that that's 75 viewers like you have to hold for those
Okay.
streams and stuff like that. But whenever I did it, I've been partnered for over 4 years now.
Wow.
Um, it was so unknown. They had a page that would tell you and be like, these are what you need in order to apply. And it was like 500 concurrent viewers. Oh, that's the word, concurrent.
Okay, there you go.
Concurrent viewers, and then just different things like that. However, that was so outdated by the time I was
Mm.
applying, and so
So you're doing what it says, and
yeah,
then you're like, what is going
I
on?
got denied 11 times
If
before.
at first you don't succeed,
Yeah.
try
Well,
again.
somebody told me, they were like, "Hey, you can reply to the email and
Mm-hmm.
ask them what they need from you." And I was like, "What?" So I replied, I was like, "Hey, uh, what am I doing wrong?" And they were like, "Oh, we just need you to hit 125 concurrent viewers." And I was like, "But I am." So I applied again like the next week and I got it. And I was like, y'all are
Nice.
silly. Get out of here."
Oh boy. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations,
Thank
4 years
you.
late.
That's okay. It's still a big
Time
deal.
flies. So what advice would you have then for somebody that is looking to get into this, or maybe somebody that's already kind of doing this, but they're new. They're just a content creator that is learning the ropes. Is there any advice you'd give to them if they're hoping to either grow their stream or even make this something that they could actually live off of?
Um, it's always hard to give advice because it's definitely a per person kind of thing because everybody's different. And what works for
True.
me may not work for 90% of other people.
Right.
But I do recommend having a schedule. Schedules work out a lot because if you think of it, back in the old days before Netflix and all of that, when we had to make sure we were in front of our TV at certain times to catch our favorite
Mm-hmm.
shows.
Oh
It's
yeah.
kind of like that. At this time, your creator is going to be streaming. Um,
That's
so
awesome.
that's a way that I like to look at that, but also start cultivating the community you want to grow with, and cultivate it whenever you start. So for me, I wanted a pretty wholesome, just kind community because toxicity comes with growth. People find their ways in, and then as you become a huge community, it gets difficult to take care of. But if you get
Mm,
like moderators that are super in tune with what you're trying to create, then they'll stay on top of that with you. So
that's
just be
awesome.
mindful of that. Yeah.
So you kind of bring them alongside you. Then
Hmm.
it's kind of like a team effort to.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, you hit on something that I hadn't really thought about, but I'd like to ask you. There's so much. So I'm on Twitter, right? And
Hmm.
you mentioned streamer Twitter. I'm on Gator Twitter. Um, but basically, there's just a lot of we call it violence, right? But it's words, but there's a lot of negativity out there and a lot of online bullying and harassment.
Hmm.
And some people, just want to watch the world burn. You watch a YouTube video and you go, "Oh, that was great," and then you look in the comments and some of the nastiest things are being thrown at whoever posted the video, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm assuming that Twitch is no different than YouTube in that not every single person that's on Twitch has the greatest of intentions.
Oh no.
Um,
Yeah.
how how do you really deal with that? I mean, I'm sure not every message you've gotten is the nicest message, and and you know what I mean. And not every person that's wandered across your stream has had the nicest things to say. How do you tune that out? What do you do to kind of stay focused on being a positive person and having this loving, wholesome kind of a community?
Um, a lot of that honestly comes down to your moderation team. Like they're your closest allies in this
Mm.
industry because they're the ones that are taking care of questions and taking care of reading all of the negativity and trying to snipe it before the streamer gets to see it
Right.
because it can hinder your mood. However, when things do get by, I will say it's been 6 years of this that I can handle it.
Oh.
Uh, real easy now. But in the beginning, messages used to get to me. People will come in and try to comment on your looks. Sexual harassment is a huge thing, and that's
Mm.
always a thing. And you just like get so much of it that you become so apathetic. You're like, shut up. Yeah. So it doesn't
Um,
bother me personally, but I know that that comes with time. And so if it does bother you, it's okay. Just make sure you're putting people like around you that are going to help take care of you and not
mhm.
influence the toxicity that comes along the way.
Got you. Well, I just have a couple more questions, and one of the last things is work life balance. A lot of people with the pandemic are having to work from home for the first time. You're kind of a pro at this. What what is the advice that you might have for folks who are, I mean, not even Twitch streamers and people in general who are now working at home and trying to balance personal life, family life, work? Do you have any advice in that area?
Yes, absolutely, I do. So, keep your schedule your schedule. If you were normally off work at 4 p.m., you're done with work at 4 p.m. People
Hmm.
think that you're available now all the time just because they know you're home, they know you're at your phone or your computer's right there because you've been using it for so long. But stay very strict on that because it will keep you sane. Because if you constantly make
Absolutely.
yourself available, people are going to take advantage of that and you're not going to be happy.
That's so true. And I try to do the same thing. I'm lucky enough to now have a home office, and I really do treat that like it's not even a part of my house. Like it's walking into a whole different space, not just physically but mentally. And it's important to keep that separate.
Mhm.
So just like you said, I try to separate the time. Um, so two last things. One is there anything that you want to promote? Is there anything going on in particular that you want people to know about, whether it's regarding your stream or any other events you have coming up?
Um, actually, yeah, this Wednesday will be the first episode of a show that I co-host on Prime Video on Amazon. So, yeah,
Wow.
and it's called Game on Titans, and it's a mobile gaming show. And our first season is with PUBG.
Nice. So that's Game on Titans, and that's on Amazon
Uh-huh.
Prime. Awesome. I'll definitely have to take a look at that. And I'll get this episode out tomorrow morning. So if you're listening to this, it's likely Tuesday. Tomorrow is the first episode. Check
Yeah.
that out. And then where can people find you on social media? Get whatever social media's handles that you might
Yeah,
have.
you can find me pretty much on every social, so Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, stuff like that at Just Sam, JUSTSEUM, and then of course on Twitch at Sam SEUM. Oh, and on YouTube. I think that's also Just Sam. I don't know.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to speak
Of
with me,
course.
and I'm very excited to see about what this Game on Titans is about.
Thanks.
But also, I just think what you've done is wonderful because now that Sophia's gonna be, soon looking at video games and videos and streams and stuff, it's good to know that there's wholesome content out there
Yeah.
that she can go to and wholesome communities that she could go to without me having to worry about some of the stuff that's allowed to fester in other
Yeah,
communities.
be very
So,
careful. There's a family friendly tag. Search that.
hmm. Will do. I'll have to reach back out to Dak for some advice, but please tell him I said hi, and hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
And that'll do it for another episode of the Know It Some podcast. My thanks to Sam, our guest, for spending some time out of her day to share with us. Honestly, I cannot thank you guys enough for all the rankings and reviews, all the social media post shares and subscriptions. I can't believe the analytics that I'm seeing. We've locked in some really great guests, some really good things ahead for us. I am speechless. I didn't think that we'd get this far, and we're only just beginning. So thanks again to everybody. Please, if you haven't already, go to iTunes, go to Apple, 5-star ranking if you feel we deserve it. Write a review. It's only going to help us get bigger and better guests, and I'm really excited about the conversations that we're about to bring you. New episode every Tuesday. Until next Tuesday, that's it from me. I'm your host, Steve Platt. Follow us on Know It Some Pod on Twitter, or you could follow me, USMC GatorBet, on Twitter. Until next time, thanks for listening. Have a great day.